Managing your money when the money stops, and that could happen. It's much more critical when you're out of your country. You don't have access to your local banking institutions. You should plan for it to happen. It has happened to me. I was out of, I did not get a check for 6 months. I think about 6 months after I came to the Philippines, and fortunately I did have access to my bank account, so I was able to use that money. I know of many instances where people are having the same issues. Either their debit card, their credit cards are not working, their banks have turned them off. I have a British friend down the hall from me who, for some time now, has been unable to contact his bank in Britain, and something to do with an industrial action, a strike or something like that going on in Britain, and therefore he'll be on hold for hours, and eventually, he just hangs up. This has been going on with him for several weeks, and he has a bank account here in the Philippines, HSBC as a matter of fact, and one in Britain, and he's trying to transfer some funds, but his transferability was turned off for some reason, and he can't get a straight answer why and how to reinstate it. They will not answer emails or text messages, anything like that. So he has to talk to somebody in person. Anyway, I'm going to discuss some of those possible issues that you may encounter, uh, why you should have some other, at least three ways to access your money, and some other ideas. If I have time, I'm going to touch on choosing where to live here in the Philippines or wherever as well, some of the factors to think about. I have talked to quite a number of people, expats, foreigners, tourists in person who have came here and other countries. They have notified their credit card companies, their bank company, that they were going to be out of the country. They wanted to use their cards out of the country. They waited until they needed cash to go to an ATM machine and found out that they didn't work. And it might take, especially if it's on depend upon the hours back in your country, your banking system might not be up and running. Customer service, they might not be able to take care of your issue. If it's over a weekend, you might have to wait a few days. And in one case, my friend used a very high interest credit card to get some cash because his debit card didn't work. And as I stated earlier, Social Security turned my deposits off into my account back in 2016, I think, for 6 months. And I was not notified. My mail was going to a daughter's house, and she never opened it up, apparently, so I was never notified. And they said, well, we miscalculated your benefits, so you're not going to get benefits for 6 months. You had the choice of choosing between 6 months with no benefits or just reduced benefits for a year or two. And because I never got that, they said, no, if you want, you can go to the embassy in Manila, fill out a form. It might take a couple months to get the lesser amount put into your account. I just decided I had some money in the bank, and I said, no, I'll just do the 6 month thing at that point in time. But that would put a lot of people in dire straits, obviously. So plan on the worst things happen. What if the internet is down? All the crazy things happening around the world these days. You don't know. The internet can be down because of natural disasters, can be down because of sun nova type events where the sun sends out a lot of energy and disrupts the electrical systems in the earth. Banking systems can get hacked. Just plan on the worst. And my suggestion is that you should have at least three different accounts, couple bank accounts, preferably with two different banks, probably. So if one banking system isn't working, you can use the other one. And credit cards, at least a couple credit cards with, there again, at least two different companies where you have access to either credit and or cash. Of course, you want to keep your credit purchases down to a minimum unless you're paying that balance off with the high interest rates, especially with the interest rates rising. credit card companies are increasing their interest rates as well. This is a motorbike. I've got my motorbike, and I am riding from Lapu-Lapu City in Mactan Island back to the uptown area of Cebu City. So I decided to, for those of you who want to look around the city a little bit, and I'll try to point out a couple things along the way. We just came across the two-lane bridge, the older two-lane bridge. There's a newer four-lane bridge further north, and then there's the newest bridge down in SRP, South Road Properties, on the south end of Cebu City that goes over to Mactan Island as well. So the first point is you should have at least 3 areas where you can give 3 companies, 3 accounts where you can get access to money, at least. Now another issue is how much money should you carry with you, especially if you're traveling in the Philippines or any other country. Now here in the Philippines is still primarily a cash society. There are more digital money services like GCash, which is Globe Cash, Alipay, a number of different ones where you load credit, you give somebody money, they load that money onto basically like a prepaid debit card, and you can use that to pay at certain places. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I was in line at the grocery store the other day, somebody trying to pay with GCash, which is owned by Globe, I believe, and stood there for 30 minutes, and finally they pulled out a credit card, I think, used that instead. They could not get it to operate properly. And I've had issues with that too. I've got just, I think, 1,000 or 1,500 pesos on a GCash card, and I can't verify the card, so I can't use it. I've tried and tried and tried. But it is still a cash society. If you're in the big city, a big city like Cebu City, Iloilo City, Davao, Bacolod, Baguio, you know, a lot of your hotels will take credit cards. Some of the stores in the malls, quite a few of the stores in the malls will take credit cards. Grocery store will probably take a credit card. You got the large BAI Hotel, B-A-I Hotel there on the left. I think it's the largest hotel room-wise, over 600 rooms in there. Outside of Metro Manila, I believe, and this big open lot to the right, they're building something there. That's been vacant for the 7 years I've been here, and they're starting to clear that off. They've got a bunch of excavators in there, and just to the right here, they've got the old Coliseum that was damaged in the last typhoon, last December, as well as in 2013 by an earthquake and typhoon as well. And a new casino resort hotel is going in there, is my understanding. I've had back to money, I've had the experience over in Iloilo City 3 years ago. I had to go to, I think, 5 different ATM machines to get money. 3 of them were listed as not operating. One would not give out, I was told, would not give out, did not work with international cards. One took my card and sounded like it was counting money, never spit out any money. Took a long time before it gave my card back, and I was afraid I'd lost my card. But I finally got it back. I have had a friend that has lost his card on a number of issues over a number of places over the years, and one he never got back. He had to have his bank in the U.S. send him another one. So those kind of issues will happen. We just passed Park Mall on the right back there, and we're just to the right. You can't see it here. Chunghwa Hospital, Mandawi City, a relatively new hospital, and this building to the right is UC Medical Center. I have also had occasions where I was planning on using my credit card, and they're offline. I took a trip over to Camotes Island. The resort took credit cards, but they were offline. For, I think I was there 3 days, and for 2 days they finally were able to process my credit card on the final day. And I think there might be one, like many of the smaller islands, you know, they might have one ATM on the island that accepts international cards, but that machine may be out of money and or not working when you need to use it. So think ahead, and especially if you're going to be outside of the big city where you have many choices for ATM machines and banks. Think ahead. If you have to spend cash, how much is that hotel? How much are you going to spend on food each day and entertainment, for transportation? Think ahead, and you should take that amount with you and a little extra, because I think most of you have experienced usually costs more than what you plan. And that has happened to me a number of times when I'm traveling outside the city, go to a resort, and I assume that they're going to be able to take a credit card, and indeed they do not. Now, a couple times I have booked through Booking.com, and they process my credit card, so I don't have to deal with the cash situation. That is one of the advantages, because a lot of these resorts, especially if the booking site, Agoda or something, I had this happen with Agoda a number of times, says no payment required up front. And my experience was that meant that they're going to want cash when you arrive. And talking about cash, another thing, my experience here is that when I've stayed in hotels, when I first came here, a number of other times, hotels, they usually want a cash deposit. Even though you're going to pay with a credit card, they want a cash deposit, damage deposit. And my experience has been most of the time 1,000 pesos, about 20 US dollars. And so you need to have that in your pocket. Another issue here is that when you first get here at the airport, everybody takes cash, of course, the taxi drivers and everybody else, and you need to go to a. We're just crossing over. This river is dividing between Mandaue City and Cebu City, and that tan building up ahead is Radisson Blue Hotel. The taller building just to upper left, that is Bayfront Hotel. Not a bad, pretty nice hotel. Stop. This is animal quarantine type thing. They're trying to stop, I think, some of the swine flu things going on in parts of the Philippines, I think. Busy, very busy intersection with no traffic signals. So when you're at the airport, find the money exchange place and maybe change whatever your home currency is, change the equivalent of about 100 US dollars or 5,000 pesos. And be sure, when I arrived, they gave me, because the exchange rate was 48.5 at the time, so I received 4,000 pesos plus 480. But anyway, be sure to get smaller bills, because the taxi driver is not going to have change. Any place you go, they're probably not going to have change. In fact, many times you'll find little restaurants, look out, look out. They will do U-turns any place and every place. They will make left-hand turns from the right turn lanes, right turns, from the left turn lane, left turns from the right turn lane. I've done a video a while back about a couple of them. It's a little crazy. Traffic gets a little crazy here. Lane lines are barely suggestions, and a lot of the people driving do not have licenses and or registration for the vehicle. Never had any training. They buy a vehicle and they drive it. Got the big to the left here. You can't see it, but the big SM Mall in Cebu City, right across the street, straight ahead of us. There was a mall there, and it burned down. I think a year or two ago. I did a video there. In fact, I've got over 1,000 videos on. A lot of videos on condominiums, on real estate, subdivisions. What do they look like? What do they cost? Buy, renting, how are they furnished? So if you do a search for a lot of the condos in Cebu City, my videos will oftentimes show up first. I've done very detailed cost of living videos. Not just housing and food, but far beyond that. Little things, so you get a better idea of what the actual expenses are. Now we've got a number of new malls that have opened up, and I like that we've got bus and jeepney parking on both sides of the street here. So I like to, you know, vehicle and people are coming in and out of that area. So I like to stay towards the center of the lanes. This building to the left, G Mall, Cebu City. Brand new mall. I think basically just the grocery store is open at the present time, but that is Gaisano, G standing for Gaisano, and this is the building to the left is the old white gold building. That was the mall, and I've done a video there many years ago, and that is being demolished, my understanding, and I'm not sure what's going to be built in its place, but that new G Mall, kind of interesting. I went down and wandered around the grocery store a bit. There is no shortage of malls in Cebu City, and as you get out into the other cities and or towns, you may get you usually have like a Gaisano mall, or some places SM mall. No, there's a new store in town. I've seen a couple of them are opening up. I've seen one under construction, the old Fuda. Some of you are familiar with the Fuda food stores. They're being bought out or taken over by Prime. Is it Prime Foods, I think? I walked by up on Mango Square, the old Fuda store, the other day. And new paint job out front. They got their sign out there now. It will be a while before they open up. Anyway, straight ahead, this is kind of Mango, still called Mango Avenue. We'll take you down to Fuentios Minya Circle straight ahead. Band practicing off the left. They don't have practice areas at their schools, so they pick a spot on a street and they practice there on the sidewalk. This Mango Avenue back there, as you get further down, their bars spread out a little bit. Quite a number of years ago, my understanding was the mayor didn't like the reputation because it was an entertainment area, basically. A lot of bars and opening up out onto the street, and they didn't renew the licenses, is what I have heard. And so it became more of a fast food kind of place. And then, of course, we had 3 years of travel lockdown, so a lot of the places closed. It's slowly coming back to life. Look out! A few of the places opening back up. Old places closed for good, like Marshall's, the Irish pub there, they're closed for good. There's another band practicing in the median there. And new places, there's for instance, up above on the second floor, and I forget what the place used to be called, bar up above Mango Square, and anyway, it's Korean disco now, I believe. And then in the back side, I think they've got a couple of discos on the back side as well. And then down the street, side streets, there are more expat type bars on Ramos Street, which is close to Fuentios Minya Circle. There's the 301 Ramos Street Bar and Restaurant. Across the street from Mango Square, I had been told by security here, 6-8 months ago, that they were going to demolish that and put a condominium there, but apparently that fell through for some reason. And now all those businesses that had moved out of there, now all those spaces are for lease again. Met a Frenchman there the other day when I walked by there, and he is opening. Surprisingly, I was hoping he was opening a French restaurant, but in fact he is opening a more of a Korean type restaurant. But he did say, well, I'm going to serve a couple French things, so I'll stop in there someday and check it out. This video is getting a little bit longer, so I'm not going to get into the choosing where to live type thing. That'll be a different video. But anyway, once you get out of the city, you may have a lot more trouble. You may need more cash, and you might find that ATMs, if they do take international cards, especially in tourist areas, you'll find the ATMs that do. They may be out of cash, especially during holidays when so many people travel. Or they may not be working. They may be offline. A number of different reasons. Your card, they might take your card and not give your card back. you know, worst case scenario. So take cash, take more cash than what you think you're going to spend, and just consider that your credit cards, your debit cards are not going to work, and then secure that, carry that stuff securely under your clothing or whatever. Have it in two different places so that if you lose one, you don't lose all of it. Over these last 3 years of lockdown, so many people lost their jobs. They lost their jobs, they lost their livelihood, they lost their businesses for a couple of years. Seeing a lot more homeless people, a lot more people asking for money, and boy, as much as I'd love to solve the world's problems, you also, as far as money goes, you need to know what your budget is, how many other people's problems you can solve, and stay in control of your money, because it's easy. I know a couple foreigners. They're sending money every week, every month, to 2 or 3 or 4 different families, and if you can afford that, great. But most of us, there are the very tight budget group among us. There are those in the middle. Have to kind of be careful. We can live comfortably, but we have to be careful. And then there are those who have quite a bit of money, and because they know how to manage money. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for coming along. See you next time.